Hi there and welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth. My name's Anna Pirelli. The comments that you see here are my views, beliefs, opinions, and sometimes they are not even my fully formed views, beliefs, and opinions. However, they are my understandings. Please do retain an open mind and reflect on any of the content and your comfort levels. If your views differ, please feel free to leave a comment. Also remember, it is possible to disagree in respectful ways. My way is not necessarily your way and vice versa. You might also find that some of the content on this playlist in regard to spiritual or universal laws, it resonates with you, meaning it feels right to you, while other laws may not feel right or they may not feel comfortable. If this is the case, the information is either not right for you or it is not right for you right now, and it might never be right for you at any given time. It really doesn't matter. As an earthy and practical person, I can put my hand up with all honesty and say that I have at different times had the same feelings about some of the content in here. And with some of them, I still have a level of skepticism within my viewpoints, but I choose to retain an open mind about the things that I don't fully understand for a few reasons. Firstly, because I believe it would be supreme arrogance to think that we all know all of the answers while we have a body. And because what is right for one of us is not necessarily right or suitable for all of us, and I choose to respect the differences. Please do leave your opinions, beliefs. Feel free to argue the points in a respectful way with any of the content on the slides and even my interpretations. And if you feel that you can add clarity around some of the content, we would all love to see it. Thank you. For now, though, let's explore the laws.
All creation is governed by law. The principles that operate in the outer universe, discoverable by scientists, are called natural laws. But there are subtler laws that rule the hidden spiritual planes and the inner realm of consciousness. Contained within these laws, or conditions, is the true nature of matter. Knowledge of these laws has an effect upon the mental urges. Mind is the builder. Stay in full mindfulness of the application of universal law as related to self and to others, and know that in love all life is given, in love all things move. In giving one attains, in giving one acquires. In giving, love becomes the fulfillment of desire, guided and directed in the ways that bring the more perfect knowledge of self as related to the universal, all-powerful, all-guiding, all divine influence in life. Love is life. When we go back, merge with the God source, in some infinitesimal but profound way, we expand the mind of God. Our higher self always points the best and most perfect way, and it is ours to listen and choose or reject what we hear. It does not blame, but patiently tries again to show the perfect way, the loving way. All of creation pushes forth. We are ever becoming. Identity ever remains. Universal law number 75, the law of prophecy. The only true future that exists is the desire or will of the source of all creation that none shall be lost and that the future is happening, unfolding in the I am, now. Sacred geometry is an aspect, a manifestation of God's love. People who are able to tune into the Akashic records and into the universal consciousness are sometimes using sacred geometry to draw a line from the supposed past, present, and then to the future. The ability to use sacred geometry comes with the raising of vibration to such a degree, the personality gains the right to access Akasha for the good of another or self. When reading the energy going to the future of people on Earth, one must keep in mind that this energy changes from moment to moment. While those powerful prophets of old were correct in their time and some of what they said has held to present day, much of their prophecies have lost relevancy. Just by hearing prediction, we change the outcome to some degree.
So I must admit, I had a big gasp with this one, and it was because of the last sentences and where the author refers back to the Bible, which is a religious and faith-based belief. So when we're talking about universal laws, my gasp is about not the fact. I just want to be very clear here that I'm not against any religion whatsoever, because freedom of choice and all the rest of it, whatever way we find Creator and God, I'm all for. But I think when we're applying a belief structure such as the law of prophecy or any of the universal laws, and we're implying that religion is part of it. It's very hard, isn't it, actually? Because when we talk about the Hindu type beliefs as well, of course, we're talking, if we talk about prana and that kind of thing, we're making references to the Hindu religion. But I don't think that the Hindu religion is actually saying we all need to go and be a Hindu, or if we don't do Hindu practices, then we are somehow off kilter or whatever. But when I see comments that refer back to the Bible, it kind of looks to be a little bit disrespectful to other religions. Okay, so for example, the other bit that I gasped about was where they denied the wisdom of the prophets, and basically say that they're no longer valid. And I see this as being incongruent by the author and a little bit wild, to be honest, because it depends on who they're referring to as being an irrelevant prophet. Which ones are they talking about? Who? Notre Dame? At the same time, there are aspects of this paragraph that I actually do agree with, and that is about predictions, but I'll come back to that a little later in this video. This video, just for your information, is going to be a big one, because there's a lot to unpack, because you've got 2 pages of what the actual law is. So my secondary gasp here was because of the first sentence where it says the only thing that matters is divine will. And I'd like you to hear me out for a moment, because it's not necessarily that I don't agree. It's perhaps the way that it's been phrased that I have an issue with, because it sounds like when we say the only thing that matters is divine will, it sounds as though we're denying free will and choice. And in my understanding, we all have free will and a choice. Certainly before we're born, as far as building our divine plan or agreeing to it, I believe we've got choices there. Of course, that is a belief, right? But my belief is that it was something that was discussed, negotiated, and agreed to by myself before I was born. As insane as that may sound to some people who have walked a different path, or whose path has been extremely turbulent, I'm not passing judgment on your path or trying to imply that my way or my beliefs are the right way. I'm just saying that I understand, based on my belief, that when we're creating the divine blueprint that we refer to in the numerology reports, while it is predestined, some of our life path as we walk it, we do have free will along the path. I think I would probably equate it, to be fair, that, forgetting about the spiritual aspect and energy aspect of it for now, let's say that I was building a goal for myself and I decided I was going to save up and buy a house. In the simplest way to explain this, it is that, I would work very hard towards my goal and I might get tired sometimes, and I might have some rubbish at work and all the rest of it. It might be quite stressful at different times. But at different stages of that goal approach, there is going to be opportunities for me to say, you know what, I'm taking the day off, right? Free will. Or, you know what, actually, I've been working hard for a while. I'm going to give myself a reward and treat now, and then I'll get back into achieving the goal and working towards it again tomorrow or in a week or whatever. We can take holidays. And so my understanding is, when it comes to the divine plan that we agree to before we're born, we have free will and free choice along our path as well. Some of it's predestined and some of it is up to us. We get to choose. I think I'm going to give an example here, based obviously on my own experiences of divine path and free will choices along the path as well, and when we're talking about being aligned with divine will. So obviously most people are aware that I went into Reiki, I started doing it, I hadn't looked to do mastery or to become a Reiki teacher. When I say mastery, my approach was one of trying to be the best person that I could be, and if I was going to work with energy and do healing, I wanted to be the best healer that I could be, not in competing with other people. If there was a competition, it was a competition with myself, okay, but it wasn't a competition. Either way, there became a point where I decided that I wanted to expand and to learn how to be a Reiki teacher. And the problem for me at that stage was I actually didn't have much money, and so money was an issue without going too far into my past. And anyway, I also didn't think that I was actually energetically ready, emotionally or psychologically, to do this level, because I'd been told that it was quite high, and it was discouraged for me because I was fairly new on my path consciously. And I thought, okay, so I'll be rational with myself. I'm just going to put it out there and just say to the universe, at the divine time, in the divine way, can you please bring the means for me to do this in a way that I can afford? Now, the amazing and incredulous thing with this is it happened within 3 weeks. It came that quick. I was really taken by surprise. Because I thought, oh my goodness me, I was, I guess, dealing with self-esteem issues. I didn't think that I was good enough to be able to do this kind of work, if you like. So I guess that felt really good for my soul, if you like, because it was like, I might doubt myself, but clearly divine doesn't. So yes, where am I going with that? I'll just pause for a moment. At the same time, it could be argued that when I put out that request to find my teacher, that I had at that stage aligned my will with divine will. And you will see that there's mantras out there saying, I'm aligned with divine will. I am. That's a really good affirmation to kick in. My will is divine will is my will, things like that. So perhaps that was why it all came to me so quickly, because I also understand that based on all sorts of rationale, whether, this actually just steps away from my little story, just going back to the actual paragraph, that, whether we're talking spiritual or psychologically, the future is unfolding in the present moment based on the actions and thoughts that we think right now, so that does make sense to me. If I am today not thinking about tomorrow, and I don't mean dwelling on tomorrow, I mean thinking about what am I going to do tomorrow, which, by the way, I've thought to myself, I've got a couple of tasks I need to do tomorrow. If I didn't think about those, then I wouldn't achieve them. So I understand that paragraph makes sense to me, and I'm sure it does to you. So in regard to sacred geometry, I'm no expert on this subject, but I am familiar with it, okay? So there's a big difference. So my understanding is that, yes, sacred geometry is a manifestation of God's love. You can do some research on it and find out where it's reflected in architecture and building structures even to this date. And I do need to be careful here and avoid sounding like I know what I'm talking about with this, because I really don't. Architecture is not my forte as well, but I am aware that the ancient temples, mosques, and even the Christian churches, and I think even the Jewish temples, were constructed based on the design of what is referred to as Metatron's cube. So as usual, this might not answer the questions, but it is a little bit more conversation and information that comes through when we read some of these paragraphs. The name Metatron is derived from the Hebrew Bible, and Metatron is described as an angelic scribe, or he's an intermediary between God and humans. The cube itself is two-dimensional, and it's a representation of what is called, it's all very complex, a three-dimensional shape. So it's an octahedron. It's got 13 circles which are connected by straight lines. So it's this symmetry and harmony of patterns. Now, the source that I was looking at says that it was first mentioned in the Kabbalah, which is, I believe, a Jewish religious book. And I would say this is just such a massive subject. I'm not going to dig any further into it. Just suffice to say that There is meant to be a level of magic or heightened spiritual energy associated with these patterns in geometry. And obviously, this is a viewpoint that's carried over multiple faiths because of the fact that they've designed and built their places of worship in alignment or accordance with the values of the Metatron's cube. Now, the relevance for this, I'm trying to sort of string this together, is that the law says that to be able to access if it's the Akashic or Akashic or Akasic, I'm not quite sure, I'm being a bit tongue-in-cheek here, records, that you use sacred geometry to get the records from the past, present and future. You hear me pause there when I'm revisiting this in my mind thinking, I don't know about that. This actually becomes a bit of a point of convention, not just for me, I would imagine, with people of different beliefs. And yeah, obviously I'll share information that I've gathered over the years for people to reflect upon. Okay, so I'm going to read this little part of the law again and quote it. People who are able to tune into the Akashic records, into the universal consciousness, are sometimes using sacred geometry to draw a line from the supposed past, present, and then to the future. Okay, I like the way they put that supposed sometimes, okay, because I definitely don't think it's all the time, all right? I have observed, okay, so this is just me trying to make sure that the content that I put on these videos has at least some kind of accuracy or core belief attached to it. So I did a bit of research online and I observed that there are some websites that say that these are first referenced, quotation marks with my little air fingering quotation marks, first reference to be the product of the teachings of Helen Blavatsky. Now, straight off the bat, I know that's not correct. So if that's on your website, I suggest you actually update it, because the concept of the records is actually traced back to Sanskrit terms of Akasha. And when we talk about Akasha, we're referring to the etheric element or the space within everything that exists, apparently. So I say apparently there because we're talking about words, and basically I would say stuff that's very difficult to describe. So I'm just giving you the content that I've found. In Hindu and Buddhist philosophy, Akasha is considered to be the fifth element, the source of all material reality and the fabric of the universe. I just say ethers because to me ethers is ethers, okay? Anyway, it's believed that we can access this information, as previously stated, and we can get information on our past lives, predictions, and our present life, and we can also get insight from the records about our future lives. Now, some people who claim to have been privy to the content state that they have seen information provided on a disc, a scroll, or even a book, and we can often see people advertising or selling their spiritual services, saying that they can take and act as a guide for people to the Akashic records so that they can retrieve information for themselves about their own lives. So now I'm going to do a little bit of storytelling, okay? I'm not uncomfortable to share what I found and experienced myself, and so I definitely believe that I have visited this place, and I didn't go alone. It wasn't a solo visit. It was a bit of a dual jaunt. And the background to this is I'd heard about them and I thought it sounded like, as you probably are if you're hearing this and you've never heard of it before, you think, oh, that sounds interesting. Well, so did I. This was a long time ago, and I'd been trying to connect with my angels, and I'd been putting it out there to the universe to go to this place. So anyway, long story short, my friend phones me up in the evening. It must have been about 8 o'clock at night. I'm like, what are you doing? And I says, as you do. Oh, I'm just trying to connect with a couple of angels and head off to the Akashic records. And she's like, well, what's that? So I told her the background, and she was like, oh, that sounds interesting. She said, can I come too? So the story is we were laughing and joking about this at the time because actually we were both still a bit cynical and skeptical that it could even occur. So long story short is we agreed to get off the phone, give it a shot, and try and get to the temple. Anyway, the thing is, the reason why we know it's true is we actually had a shared vision. I will never forget, I woke at 11:59 p.m. and my whole body was screaming to call her, but of course we were mothers and we had children, and I didn't want to disturb her sleep. I wanted to respect her responsibilities as a parent, but I had all these images in my mind. I'd also got a prediction about what was happening in her life, and it was a really buzzing experience, I might add. It was just such a rush. I was hardly able to sleep for the night, and eventually I did fall asleep, but I got a phone call at about 6 o'clock in the next morning. And I can honestly say I answered the phone. That poor woman, it turns out that the reason why she said what she said was because actually she was just being a good friend to me. She thought I was going somewhat insane at the time, because obviously my spiritual growth had kicked off so quickly. So I've answered the phone to her, squealing down the phone going, "Oh my God, I've been waiting all night to call you. I woke up at 11:59 and I've been wanting to call you ever since and ask you, do you remember, do you remember, do you remember?" So I'm not going to tell you everything that we saw. What I'm going to say is that we didn't include sacred geometry as part of our visit. We were working with angels, but I will say that what we both did recall very clearly was that when we were given our information, there was obviously it was a very sacred experience actually, but at the same time we're both human, so never let it be said that you can't be human when you're interacting with the light beings, because that was when I actually learned that if you think, they hear your thoughts. Because I, being the human that I am, I made all right, you can laugh about it, I'll put my hand up with shame in hindsight. I've actually made a crack to my friend and didn't realise that the gentleman that was reading from the book could hear me, and I made the crack of, if he smiled his face would crack. Yes, I did, it's true. We thought we were very funny, but the tension was palpable for a moment, and I think it was all mine. And the bottom line is he did actually have a sense of humour, but he just hid it very well. And so anyway, that was my experience. And I understand actually that the light beings will actually perform, I shouldn't say perform because that makes it sound false and insincere. They will meet our expectations. So if my expectation of this was that it was going to be a very serious moment, then that's what they will give me. And they certainly did, until we all ended up laughing at my lack of grace. Now, I don't know about you, I would imagine that there probably is a lot of people that are like me in regard to this. I do consider predictions to be largely irrelevant, although this is a service that I provide. And this is especially because if they're too far into the future, things change within our environment. And I recall many years ago, I received a prediction. Well, in fact, actually, because I've knocked around with many psychics and that kind of stuff, I've received lots of predictions that haven't come true, and some that have come true within 24 hours. But, at the end of the day, I come back to the fact that, because we live in uncertain times, I think to a level predictions are losing their validity. Doesn't matter how good the psychic is. If you're predicting about something that's yet to happen, there's still a lot of things that can occur that can actually block that prediction. And I'll give you a prime example. Before COVID, a friend of mine was working overseas in the US actually, and before she'd gone, she'd asked me whether or not I could give her a reading and tell her if she would get a job in South Africa, because that's what she really wanted. And when I looked at the cards, I said, it looks very positive. I said, it looks like timing-wise it's going to work out well for you. It'll be in about 12 months' time based on the cards. And then it wasn't, I think it was probably close to about 13 months later, she contacted me again and asked me to check the cards because she was at decision time for herself, which I did. And I said, this is really interesting. I said, I'm still getting that, yes, you're going there, but there are delays. I said, I'm not getting clear answers about what these delays are. I said, but it does look like I can no longer give you any form of solid date. It just looks very, very ambiguous. And within about 2 months of me doing that reading, COVID hit big time, obviously. And as you're aware, everything kind of stopped after that from travel. or travel-related things. Now, obviously, COVID finished, isolation and that kind of finished. Her career pathway had taken a different trajectory. More recently, I'd say in the last 12 months, it looks like South Africa might be another option for her going forward. But of course, she can change her mind. She can decide that South Africa is not something that she wants to do. And the other thing is too that when we do get a prediction, one of the things that I saw many years ago was I gave a prediction to a lady. Funny how things are. Just remember, if you've got a circle of friends and they're psychics, quite often they'll actually have a chat. You know, this was back in the early days. And she'd come to me for a reading, and I had told her that I saw her getting this promotion at work. And within 2 weeks, I got a phone call from her getting into me because she'd actually got the sack from the job. And I felt really bad. I thought I'd done something wrong. So because I had friends that were psychics, and they knew this lady actually, it all becomes clear in the end. I approached one of them and I said, look, I don't normally talk about my client stuff. I said, but I think I've done something wrong. You know, I questioned my own ability as a reader. And I said, I thought she was going to get that job. I said, my guidance was that she was going to get a promotion. And the woman turned around, she said to me, yeah, the thing is that she actually came and she saw me. She got a reading from me. She said, and she got a reading from this other psychic. She said, and we all saw promotion. She said, and I don't think we all got it wrong. She said, my guidance is that we didn't get it wrong, but rather she changed how she was acting and behaving at work, and she got very cocky, and obviously she was going to be a power-hungry boss, so she let the beast out, shall we say, and her workplace recognised it quickly and decided she was not only unsuitable to be a manager, she was actually a bully in the workplace, and so they terminated her employment. So that's something to consider, you know what I mean? You can change things just by the course of your own behaviour and actions and thoughts. So predictions, yeah, they're largely ambiguous. They can come true, undoubtedly, for sure. So I'm not sure that I've really been particularly helpful today. I've just given you a bit of information and my interpretation on this particular law. If you've got comments, please feel free to share your experiences, your understandings and your knowledge. As usual, I'm sure I'm not the only person that would be interested to see your comments. Anyway, until the next video, take care, my friends. Have a beautiful day. I shall speak to you soon. Bye-bye for now.